The night Marcus signed the divorce agreement, a thunderstorm raged outside. When he handed me the papers, his expression was as indifferent as ever. "Grace, sign it." I took the thin sheet of paper, neatly detailing the end of our 3-year marriage. The rain lashed against the large windows, just as it had the year I married into the family. Only then, I had willingly stepped in for my sister. Now, I was the one being cast aside. "Sarah is back in the country," he added, as if that explained everything. Sarah, his first love, the woman who shone brightly in the entertainment industry. I lowered my gaze to the divorce agreement, recalling that rainy night 3 years ago. My sister, Rachel, had cried, refusing to marry Marcus. To save Sterling's partnership, Dad had no choice but to have me step in. "I'll sign." Marcus seemed surprised by my ready agreement. The pen in his hand paused for a few seconds. I picked up the pen and carefully, stroke by stroke, wrote my name, Grace. For 3 years, under that identity, I had loved, waited, and been disappointed. "The house and car are yours, as is this card." He pushed a premium credit card toward me. "Consider it compensation." I looked at the card and suddenly laughed. "Marcus, do you think I'm short on money?" He froze for a moment. True, while the Sterling family couldn't compare to the family, we weren't poor. I never married him for money. It was because of that love at first sight in the summer I was 16. He had just returned from abroad then. At a Sterling family banquet, young Marcus, in a white shirt, was as cool and distant as the moon. I hid in the corner of the staircase, secretly watching him, my heart pounding like a drum. Unfortunately, his gaze had never lingered on me, not even on our wedding night. "I don't want it." I pushed the premium credit card away, stood up, and smoothed my skirt. "Marcus, from now on, we have nothing to do with each other." He remained seated, his long fingers lightly ping the table, a habitual gesture when he was deep in thought. Where are you going? What's it to you?" The words surprised even me. In 3 years, I had never spoken to him like that. Marcus also froze, his deep eyes staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave, my heels clicking sharply on the polished marble flooring. "Grace," he called from behind me. I stopped, but didn't turn back. "Take care of yourself." That was the last thing Marcus said to me. Stepping out of Blackwood, the rain immediately soaked my face. I stood by the entrance, waiting for a car, the rain and tears mixing, making it impossible to tell which was Saltaire. Uncle, the driver, came over with an umbrella. "Ma'am, the car's over here." "Don't call me ma'am anymore," I said as I got into the car. "Take me to my downtown apartment in Eastside." It was my pre-marriage residence, which had been empty for 3 years. As the car started, I saw Marcus through the rearview mirror, standing by the large windows of his study, his tall figure blurred in the rainy night. "Goodbye, Marcus. Goodbye, the man I spent 3 years of my youth loving." The first night back in my Eastside apartment, I couldn't sleep. Everything here was just as I'd left it 3 years ago. Even the withered potted plant on the windowsill remained. I watered it, thinking perhaps it could still come back to life. My phone rang. It was my sister, Rachel. "Grace, are you really divorced?" Her voice was filled with disbelief. "Yes." "Why? Marcus is such a good man, how could you?" I hung up. Rachel would never understand. The wonderful Marcus in her eyes hadn't given me a proper glance more than a few times in 3 years. The next morning, I went to Sterling. My father, Robert, sat in the CEO's office, his brow furrowed when he saw me. "Grace, what kind of nonsense is this? How could you just end a perfectly good marriage?" "Dad, I want to come back and work for the company." "Go. Appease Marcus first." He slammed his hand on the table and stood up. "Sterling owes everything it has today to the family's support." I quietly watched the man. He was my father, yet he had never once cared about my feelings. "Dad, I studied marketing. I have an MBA, and I'm capable of contributing to Sterling." "What capability?" "It's all because Marcus, out of marital obligation, let Sterling ride on Blackwood's coattails." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Then I'll prove it to you." After leaving Sterling, I went straight to the hub. Since didn't believe in my abilities, I would prove myself through results. That afternoon, I received interview invitations from 3 companies. Returning to my apartment that evening, I sat at my computer to update my resume. After deleting the title of Mrs. Blackwood, I realized I actually had a lot of experience to list. During college, I participated in market research projects and won second prize in the National College Student Competition. In graduate school, I interned at a multinational corporation and ranked among the top 3 performers. Although I hadn't held a formal job since my marriage, I had consistently monitored market trends and even written several industry analysis reports. As I organized all this, I realized I wasn't a blank slate after all. For the past 3 years, I had simply hidden all my brilliance, wanting only to be a docile wife by Marcus's side. Thinking about it now, it was truly ridiculous. My phone rang again. This time, it was Mom. Grace, your father's blood pressure is through the roof with anger. Go back quickly and apologize to Marcus, there's still room to reconcile. Mom, I won't go back. Why are you so stubborn, child? Marcus is such a catch, you'll never find someone like him again if you let him go. I gave a bitter laugh. In everyone's eyes, Marcus was perfect. Rich, handsome, and capable, he was the template of an ideal husband. But they didn't know that in 3 years. He had never once smiled at me, let alone said a single loving word. Our closest interactions were probably just superficial gestures made to appease our elders. Mom, if you truly care about my well-being, then support my decision. With that, I hung up and turned off my phone. Late at night, I brewed a cup of chamomile tea and sat on the balcony, gazing at the night view. From this vantage point, I could just see the direction of Blackwood, where the lights were still on. I imagined Marcus and Sarah were likely reliving old memories at this very moment. A dull ache stirred in my chest at the thought. But soon, I adjusted my mindset. Grace, you need to learn to let go. Some people are destined to be just fleeting visitors in your life. And some paths, you are destined to walk alone. The next day's interview went unexpectedly smoothly. All 3 companies were very interested in my background, and one foreign trade company offered me a position on the spot. Ms. Grace, your qualifications perfectly match our requirements. The HR manager, a woman in her 40s with a kind smile, said, our company primarily deals with the European and American markets, so we need talent with an international perspective. I nodded. When can I start? If it's convenient, you can start next Monday. Leaving the company building, I was in high spirits. This feeling of being recognized for my own abilities felt more genuine than all the compliments I received as Mrs. Blackwood. Passing a mall, I bought a set of tailored business suits. The woman in the mirror, wearing a black suit, was sharp and sophisticated, a stark contrast to the docile Mrs. Blackwood I used to be. The cashier, a young girl, couldn't help but compliment me as she checked me out. Wow, you have such an amazing presence. You look just like a powerful career woman. I smiled. Thank you. Yes, maybe this is how I was always meant to be. That evening, I ordered a bouquet of flowers online for myself, to celebrate the start of my new life. They were sunflowers, bright golden and full of vigor. As I was arranging the flowers, the doorbell rang. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, I saw Marcus. He was still in his black suit, but he looked a bit tired. How did you know I live here? Uncle told me. He glanced at the room behind me. May I come in? I hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside. Marcus walked into the living room, his gaze falling on the sunflowers on the coffee table. They're beautiful, he said. Thank you. I poured 2 glasses of water. What brings you here? He was silent for a moment. I heard you were looking for a job? I've already found one. If you need any help. I don't, I cut him off. Marcus, we're divorced. You don't need to feel responsible for me. He looked at me, his eyes holding an emotion I couldn't decipher. Grace, actually, Don't say anything, I stood up. It's getting late. You should go. Sarah just returned, and I'm sure she has a lot to tell you. Hearing's name, Marcus's expression became somewhat uneasy. She and it's not what you think. I gave a cold laugh. Then why did you get a divorce? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Exactly. If not for Sarah, why would he divorce me? Marcus, some words, once spoken, cannot be unsaid. I walked to the door. Since you chose divorce, don't look back. As he reached the door, he suddenly turned back. Grace, if I had just. There are no ifs, I looked straight into his eyes. Marcus, for the past 3 years, I've waited, I've hoped, I've been disappointed. Now, I'm just tired. Please, let yourself go, and let me go too. He stared at me blankly, ultimately saying nothing as he turned and left. Closing the door, I leaned against it and let out a long breath. Looking at the sunflowers in the living room, I suddenly felt they truly were beautiful. Growing towards the sun, always chasing light, that's probably the life I want. No longer bowing to anyone, no longer compromising myself. I want to live the life I love. My first week at the new job was very fulfilling. My colleagues were all friendly, and my boss highly praised my work ability. Ms. Grace, this market analysis report is excellent, the department manager publicly praised me in the meeting. The thought process is clear, the data is thorough, this is the professionalism we need. After the meeting, Liam, a colleague sitting next to me, leaned over. Grace, where did you work before? That's incredible. I smiled. I'm new here, I still have a lot to learn from everyone. I didn't tell them that I had stayed up 2 nights to finish that report. 3 years as a full-time wife had made me a bit rusty, but thankfully, my foundations were still strong, and with effort, I could quickly get back up to speed. After work, I often went to the corner nearby. It was a small shop, simply decorated and cozy. The owner, Linda, was a woman in her 30s. Working late again? Linda brought me a latte. Young people need to take care of themselves. It's fine, I like being busy. Linda smiled. I can tell your spirits are really good lately. Indeed, being busy left me no time to overthink or think about Marcus. That evening, as I was organizing work materials for the next day at the corner, I suddenly saw a familiar figure. Sarah. She was wearing a white dress, her long hair flowing, looking as beautiful as a fairy. She stood at the entrance for a moment, seemingly hesitating whether to come in. I pretended not to notice and continued working with my head down. To my surprise, she actually walked in and came directly to my table. Hello, I'm Sarah. She extended her hand proactively. We've probably met before, at one of the family gatherings. I looked up and calmly shook her hand. I remember. She sat opposite me and ordered a glass of lemonade. I heard from Marcus that you two, divorced? Yes. She bit her lower lip, seeming a bit uneasy. I feel very sorry. If it weren't for my return. Miss Sarah, you're overthinking it. I closed my laptop and looked into her eyes. My divorce from Marcus has nothing to do with you, it was our own problem. She paused, clearly not expecting me to say that. But, Marcus is free to choose whoever he wants, I have no opinion on it. I stood up to gather my things. Miss Sarah, if there's nothing else, I'll be going. Wait, she quickly called out to me. Ms. Grace, what I actually wanted to say is, Marcus hasn't been doing well lately. I stopped and looked at her. He often sits alone in his study until very late, sometimes he even calls your name. Sarah's voice was soft. I think he might. Miss Sarah, Marcus's state is none of my concern, I interrupted her. You were his first love. He chose to divorce me to start over with you, and there's nothing wrong with that. No, she explained urgently. I only came back for work. Marcus and I have long since. Enough, I said, a hint of impatience in my voice. Miss Sarah, I don't know what you're trying to convey, but I hope you understand one thing, Marcus and I are over, regardless of the reason. With that, I left the corner. Walking the streets at night, my emotions were somewhat complex. Sarah saying Marcus wasn't doing well stirred something within me, but I quickly composed myself. His well-being is no longer my concern. All I need to do now is live my own life and not be dragged down by the past. Back at my apartment, I took a hot shower, then sat at my desk and continued working. I had an important client meeting tomorrow, and I needed to be fully prepared. This was my life now, busy, fulfilling, and purposeful. Much more fulfilling than being Mrs. Blackwood. 2 months later, my performance at the company continued to excel. Not only had I successfully secured several major clients, but I also proposed a completely new market expansion plan, which received high praise from the managing Ms. Grace, the comp. Annie has decided to promote you to assistant manager. The director announced this news in his office, and I was somewhat surprised. So soon? Your capabilities are evident to everyone, and the company needs talent like you, he said with a smile. Of course, your salary will be adjusted accordingly. Leaving the managing's office, I was in high spirits. This was the first time I had achieved success entirely through my own abilities, without anyone's help or special favor. My colleagues all came to congratulate me, and Liam excitedly said, Grace, you're amazing. You got promoted so quickly. It's the result of everyone's hard work, I humbly replied. After work, I decided to buy a few things to celebrate. While browsing in the mall, I unexpectedly ran into Mom. Grace? She seemed surprised. What are you doing here? Just buying a few things. I held up my shopping bag. And you, Mom? Helping your sister choose some clothes. She looked me over. You look different lately. I certainly was different. Now, I wore tailored business suits and sophisticated makeup, my entire being exuded confidence. Mom, I got a promotion. She paused. A promotion? Assistant manager, I said with a touch of pride. Mom's expression was complex. Grace, are you really not planning to get back together with Marcus? Mom, I'm doing very well now. But. No buts, I cut her off. Mom, I hope you all can respect my choices. I'm not the naive little girl I was 3 years ago. With that, I left the mall. That evening, I cooked a delicious meal for myself at home, celebrating my promotion. While eating, I suddenly remembered my wedding night 3 years ago. That night, I also ate alone. Marcus had said he had a business engagement and didn't return until very late. Thinking about it now, he was probably meeting Sarah then. But none of that matters anymore. Now I have my own career, my own goals, and I no longer need to depend on anyone. Just then, the doorbell rang. I thug. It was my downstairs neighbor, but when I opened the door, I saw Marcus. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, my favorite white roses. Congratulations on your promotion, he said. I was somewhat surprised. How did you know? Uncle happened to run into your mom. He paused. May I come in? I hesitated for a moment, then let him in. Marcus looked at the dishes on the dining table. Eating all this by yourself? Celebrating my promotion. I went to the kitchen for a vase, arranged the white roses, and said, thank you for the flowers. Grace, he suddenly called my name, his voice a little hoarse. Marcus, you don't need to say anything. I turned to face him. I know you might feel guilty, but there's really no need. It's not guilt. He took a step closer. It's regret. My heart skipped a beat, but quickly returned to normal. Regret what? Regretting not cherishing you properly. His eyes stared directly at me. Grace, I want to start over. I quietly watched him, this man who had once made my heart race. Indeed, he was still as handsome and accomplished as ever. But my heart was calm as still water. Marcus, some things, once missed, are gone forever, I said softly. Like a broken mirror, even if you piece it back together, the cracks will remain. Between us, there are already too many cracks. His face was a little pale. Grace, please give me another chance? I shook my head. I'm sorry, I don't want to go back to the past. I'm very satisfied with my life now, I don't want to change it. Marcus stood there, like a statue. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I understand. He turned to leave, but stopped again at the door. Grace, if one day you change your mind. That day will never come, I stated with certainty. He nodded and left. Closing the door, I looked at the white roses, my emotions somewhat complex. The old me would have been moved to tears by a bouquet from him. Now, I just think the flowers are beautiful, nothing more. P.O.P. Really do change. When you are strong enough, you no longer need anyone's salvation. Work became even busier after my promotion, but I reveled in it. Facing different challenges and solving various problems every day made me feel truly alive. One afternoon, as I was eating takeout food in my office, my assistant Alex knocked and entered. Manager, someone's here to see you. Who is it? He said he's a friend of yours, Ethan. Ethan? I thought for a moment and remembered him. He was my college senior, he studied psychology, and after graduating, he opened a therapy practice. We hadn't been in touch for years. Let him in. Ethan was just as I remembered him, gentle, refined, with a warm smile. Grace, long time no see. He sat opposite me. I heard you got a promotion, congratulations. Thank you. How did you know I was here? Coincidence. He smiled. I had a client downstairs from your company and happened to see you leaving. We chatted about recent events for a while, then Ethan suddenly asked, you look a bit tired lately? Work's been pretty busy. He looked into my eyes. Is it just work? Typical of a psychology major, his observations were sharp. There's something else, I didn't hide it. I got a divorce. Ethan nodded, not showing much surprise. Need to talk about it? As a friend or a therapist? Either. I thought about it and decided to talk to him. Anyway, he wasn't in my social circle, so it wouldn't hurt to talk. There's nothing too complicated, just irreconcilable differences. I briefly explained the situation, omitting many details, of course. Ethan listened quietly, occasionally nodding. It sounds like you're in a good place now, he said. Independent, confident, and purposeful. Definitely much better than before. That's good, he smiled. But if you ever need professional therapy, feel free to reach out. With that, he handed me a business card. This is the address of my therapy practice, friend rates. I took the card and okayed at it. It was in an office building in the East Side district. Thanks, but I think my mental state is pretty good. Even better, Ethan stood up. I won't keep you from your work. If you're free sometime, would you like to grab a meal? Sounds good. After left, I returned to my work. I had an important client meeting that afternoon, and I needed to be fully prepared. The meeting went very smoothly. The client was pleased with our proposal and signed the contract on the spot. Manager, I'm very impressed by your professionalism, the client said as we shook hands goodbye. I hope we'll have more opportunities to collaborate in the future. I'm sure we will, I replied with a smile. Leaving the conference room, I felt a tremendous sense of accomplishment. This success, achieved through my own abilities, was more precious than anything. When I left work that evening, I received a text message from Ethan. Congrats on landing the big client. Dinner to celebrate? I was somewhat surprised. How did he know I had landed the client? Only after replying to the text did I find out he had introduced me to that client. Ethan, were you helping me out? It's normal for friends to help each other, he said, laughing on the phone. Besides, I only recommended you because I believed in your abilities. Thank you. Don't mention it. Are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you to dinner. I thought about it and accepted. It had been a long time since I'd had dinner with a friend, it felt nice. The restaurant Ethan chose was very classy, with an elegant atmosphere and exquisite dishes. The owner of this place is a friend of mine, the food is excellent. He poured me a glass of red wine. Try this. We chatted about fun stories from college, the atmosphere was very relaxed. Do you remember what your dream was in college? Ethan suddenly asked. To start my own company, I thought. Back then, I believed women could also make a significant mark in the business world. Aren't you fulfilling that dream now? In a way, I smiled. I just took a long detour. Taking detours is also part of life, Ethan said, looking at me, his eyes holding a tenderness I couldn't quite decipher. The important thing is that you ultimately found your direction. For some reason, I suddenly thought of Marcus. If it had been him, would he have understood my dreams? Probably not. In his eyes, I would always just be that docile Mrs. Blackwood. Dinner with Ethan was very pleasant, and we agreed to meet again. Returning to my apartment, I was surprised to find an exquisite box left at my door. There was no name on the box, but I knew who it was from. Opening it, I found a high-end jewelry set and a card. Grace, this is the jewelry set you always wanted. If you're willing, could we start over? Marcus, I remembered this jewelry set. It was a limited edition from a luxury brand. I had casually mentioned I liked it when I saw it in a magazine. I didn't expect him to remember. But now, looking at the jewelry set, I felt no thrill whatsoever. I repackaged the box, intending to have someone return it to the family tomorrow. Just then, my phone rang. It was Marcus. Did you get it? His voice was a little tense. I got it. Do you like it? It's beautiful, but I can't accept it. Silence hung on the other end of the line for a moment. Why? Marcus, I told you, we're over. But I truly regret. If regret were useful, there wouldn't be so many regrets in the world, I cut him off. When you chose to divorce, did you consider my feelings? Grace. Never mind, there's no point in saying any of this, I sighed. Marcus, we're both adults, once we make a choice, we have to live with the consequences. I admit I was wrong back then, but now I want to make amends. Some things can't be mended, I said, looking at the night view outside the window. Like time, once it's past, it's past. Marcus seemed about to say something, but ultimately said nothing. Gr. Ace, I won't give up. Do what you want, I said, and hung up. To say I was unaffected would be a lie. After all, I had once loved him so deeply. But now, I had learned to be rational. Love wasn't everything in life, I still had my career and my dreams. The next day at work, I had my assistant return the jewelry to the family. At lunchtime, Ethan came to the company to have lunch with me. You don't seem to be in the best mood, he asked with concern. It's nothing, just work-related. Ethan could tell I didn't want to talk about it, so he didn't press further. We found a quiet restaurant and ordered a simple lunch. Grace, Ethan suddenly called my name. If, would you be willing to give yourself a new beginning? I paused, looking into his eyes. In them was a tenderness I recognized, and an emotion I was hesitant to acknowledge. Ethan. I know this might sound sudden, he said, a little nervous. But I want you to know, ever since college, I'm sorry, I interrupted him. I'm not ready to start a new relationship right now. Ethan nodded, his smile a bit forced. I understand. I was too eager. It's not your fault, I looked at him sincerely. Ethan, you're a wonderful person, any girl would be very happy with you. But that girl isn't you, is it? I remained silent. Indeed, Ethan was excellent, gentle, thoughtful, and responsible, the ideal partner for many women. But for him, I only felt friendship, not the flutter of romance. Perhaps my heart hadn't completely let go of the past, or perhaps something was missing between us. Ethan, let's just be friends. Okay, he smiled, a genuine smile this time. Friends are good too. Back at the company that afternoon, I immersed myself completely in work. Only when I was busy did I stop dwelling on unnecessary thoughts. Nearing the end of the workday, my assistant told me Marcus had arrived. Tell him to wait, I said, continuing to handle the documents on my desk. Half an hour later, Ally left my office. Marcus was sitting on the sofa in the reception area, looking somewhat haggard. Did you get the jewelry? I asked. I did, he stood up. Grace, why won't you accept it? I told you, we're over. What if it wasn't jewelry, but something else? He suddenly asked. For example, a company? I paused. What do you mean? I want to invest in a company and have you run it. His eyes lit up. Haven't you always wanted to have your own business? Marcus, do you think I'm short on money? It's not about money. Then what is it? I gave a cold laugh. Do you think a business will win me over? I just want to. You just want to control me in another way. I saw through his intentions. Marcus, my current job is great, I don't need your charity. His face darkened. This isn't charity, it's enough. I picked up my bag. Marcus, no matter what you do, I won't come back to you. Just give up. With that, I left the company. Walking home, I suddenly felt very tired. Not physically tired, but mentally. Why wouldn't he just let me go? Perhaps I should consider moving to another city for work. That weekend, I met my college roommate, Maya, for coffee. Maya had a straightforward personality. After hearing about my recent situation, she said directly, Grace, is your ex-husband crazy? He divorced you but still won't let go? Maybe, I gave a bitter laugh. If you ask me, you should cut off all contact, Maya fumed. What's with the jewelry, the company investment? Isn't he just trying to buy you back? He probably thinks it'll win me back. Bullshit. Maya swore. If he really wanted to win you back, he shouldn't have divorced you in the first place. Now he's pulling this stunt, isn't that just sour grapes? Maya's words, though crude, made a lot of sense. Grace, I think you should start dating, Maya suddenly said. Let your ex-husband see that you've moved on with your life. I don't want to date right now. What about Ethan? Maya winked. ITH. Inky's pretty interested in you. We're just friends. Friends can become lovers, too, Maya urged. Grace, you can't stop believing in love just because of one failed marriage. I haven't stopped believing in love, I just think my life is pretty good right now. Maya looked at me and suddenly sighed. You know what? You're like a wounded little animal, protecting yourself too much. If you keep doing that, you'll miss out on a lot of wonderful things. I remained silent. Maybe was right, but I truly wasn't in the mood to pursue a new relationship right now. Leaving Cozy Cafe, I walked aimlessly through the streets. Before I knew it, I had walked up to a rooftop. The view from here was great, I could see the entire city at night. I stood at the railing, looking towards Blackwood in the distance. The lights were still on there. I wondered what Marcus was doing. Do you come here often? A familiar voice came from behind me, and I turned to see Ethan. Occasionally, I said, a little surprised. What are you doing here? I live nearby, he said, walking to my side. I saw you come up a moment ago. We stood side by side, gazing at the city lights. What are you thinking about? Ethan asked. Nothing much, just thinking the night view is beautiful. It certainly is beautiful, he paused. But I think you're more beautiful than the night view. I looked at him, and he was looking right back at me. The night breeze swept by, carrying a faint floral scent. Ethan, I know you're not ready right now, he said softly. But I want you to know, I'll wait for you. No matter how long, I'll wait. My heart was touched. It had been a long time since I'd felt so cherished. Why? I asked. I'm not some perfect woman. Because you're you, Ethan smiled. Grace, in my eyes, you are the best. You are strong, independent, and kind. These qualities are more precious than anything. I looked at Ethan, a warmth swelling in my heart. I had never heard such words when I was with Marcus. In his eyes, I was always the delicate woman who needed to be looked after, but saw the real me. Thank you, I said sincerely. Don't mention it, he said with a gentle smile. I truly mean it. We stood on the rooftop for a long time, neither of us speaking. But this quiet was comforting, unlike the stifling atmosphere when I was with Marcus. It's getting late. Shall I walk you home? Ethan asked. Okay. As we went downstairs, Ethan suddenly said, Grace, I'm going out of town for a business trip tomorrow. I might be gone for a week. Work-related? Yes, a client needs long-term therapy. Then be careful on your trip. I will, he smiled. When I get back, I want to take you somewhere. Where? You'll find out then. After walking me to my apartment building, Ethan didn't come up. He just stood downstairs, watching me go through the main entrance. Back home, I stood by the large windows and saw him still standing downstairs. He didn't leave until I turned off my lights. In that moment, I suddenly understood what it felt like to be cherished. Perhaps I really should start fresh. The week Ethan was away on his business trip, my life was peaceful. The company's business was thriving, and my work received more recognition. The director even hinted that if I continued performing this well, I might be promoted to marketing by the end of the year. Ms. Grace, your capabilities are clear to everyone, the managing said in his office. The company needs talent like you. Thank you for your recognition, managing. But I hear other companies are trying to poach you. I paused. No, that's not true. That's good, the managing smiled. The company values you greatly, we can discuss your salary and benefits further. Walking out of the managing's office, I was in high spirits. This feeling of being recognized was truly wonderful. On my way home from work, I received another text message from Marcus. Grace, tomorrow is your birthday. I'd like to celebrate with you. I checked the date, it was indeed my birthday tomorrow. To be honest, I had almost forgotten. My birthdays for the past few years had been lonely. Marcus was either on a business trip or had social engagements and never spent them with me. Was it too late for him to think of celebrating now? I didn't reply to his text. The next day was Friday, and I went to work as usual. My colleagues didn't know it was my birthday, so everything seemed normal. Around noon, my assistant Alex knocked and came in. Manager, someone sent you flowers. Flowers? A huge bouquet, absolutely stunning. I walked out of my office and saw a lavish bouquet of pink roses at the reception desk, at least 99 of them. Beside the bouquet was a card, Happy, my girl. Marcus, my colleagues gathered around, curious, speculating about who sent them. Manager, your boyfriend is so romantic. Such a huge bouquet must have cost a fortune. I didn't explain, just had someone move the flowers to my office. In the afternoon, another birthday cake arrived, also from Marcus. I started to feel annoyed. Was he trying to make sure everyone in the company knew by sending such ostentatious gifts? As I left work, I saw Marcus's car parked downstairs at the office building. He wore a black suit, leaning against the car, looking like a character straight out of a romance movie. Passing female employees couldn't help but take a second glance. Grace, he said, walking towards me as soon as he saw me. Happy. Thanks, I replied coolly. I booked a restaurant. Shall we go for dinner? No thanks, I'm going home to rest. Grace, it's your birthday today. How I choose to spend my birthday is my business, I cut him off. Marcus, please stop interfering in my life. With that, I walked away. Marcus called out to me from behind, but I didn't look back. Back in my apartment, I made something simple to eat and then sat on the sofa to watch TV. This was probably the most uneventful birthday I'd ever had. But I didn't feel sad, instead, there was a sense of relief. No longer expecting, no longer disappointed. Just then, the doorbell rang. I thought it was Marcus and was prepared not to open the door. But then I heard Ethan's voice from outside. Grace, it's me. I was surprised. Hadn't he said he'd be away for a week on his business trip? Opening the door, Ethan stood outside, holding a small cake. Happy, he said with a smile. Weren't you on a business trip? I came back early, he said, stepping inside. It's your birthday today, how could I not be here? I looked at the small cake, a warmth swelling in my heart. The cake was tiny, palm-sized, but its delicate decoration showed the care of its maker. I made this myself, Ethan said, a little shyly. My baking skills aren't great, so I hope it suits your taste. Thank you, I said, genuinely grateful. This is the best birthday gift I've ever received. Really? Ethan's eyes lit up. Really? We shared the small cake. Its taste was indeed ordinary, but to me, it was sweeter than anything. Grace, Ethan suddenly said. I have something for you. He took a small box from his bag and handed it to me. What is it? Open it and see. I opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny sunflower pendant. Sunflowers symbolize hope and sunshine, Ethan said softly. I hope you'll always be like a sunflower, living towards the sun. I looked at the necklace, my eyes getting a little moist. This gift wasn't expensive, but it touched me more than all the costly jewelry Marcus had given me, because it represented not money, but thoughtfulness. Ethan, thank you. Do you like it? Very much, I said sincerely. Could you help me put it on? Ethan carefully helped me put on the necklace. His fingers occasionally brushed my neck, warm and gentle. It's beautiful, he said, but his eyes weren't on the necklace, they were on me. In that moment, I suddenly understood something. Love does and always have to be dramatic. Sometimes, a slow and steady flow is more precious. Marcus offered me passion, but Ethan gave me warmth. And what I needed right now was precisely that warmth. Ethan, I looked into his eyes. Yes? I want to. Give us a try. Ethan paused for a moment, then broke into a radiant smile. Really? Really, I nodded. But I need time to take things slow. Of course, he gently stroked my cheek. We have all the time in the world. That night, Ethan stayed with me until very late before leaving. He didn't make any inappropriate moves, just quietly chatted with me and watched TV. But this companionship gave me an unprecedented sense of security. Perhaps this was the feeling I had been searching for all along. 3 months later, my relationship with Ethan became increasingly stable. He wasn't as overbearing as Marcus, nor did he try to change anything about me. He simply accompanied me quietly, supporting every decision I made. Leaving work that day, we had planned to go to the movies together. As I walked out of the office building, I saw Marcus's car again. This was already the third time this month. He's here again? Ethan frowned. Don't mind him, I said, pulling Ethan's hand. Let's go. But got out of his car and walked over to us. Grace, he said, looking at our clasped hands, his face grim. Are you together? That's none of your business, I said calmly. How can it be none of my business? Marcus exclaimed, growing agitated. Grace, have you forgotten what we had? What we had? I sneered. Marcus, there was never anything between us. There was, he said urgently. I admit I was wrong before, but now. Enough, Ethan stepped in front of me. Sir, please stop harassing Grace. Who do you think you are? Marcus's eyes reddened. Grace is my wife. Ex-wife, I corrected him. Marcus, we're divorced, and you were the one who filed for it. I regret it, he shouted. Grace, I truly regret it. What good is et? I looked at him, my heart perfectly calm. Marcus, when you divorced me for Sarah, it was completely over between us. It wasn't for her. Marcus hastened to explain. Sarah and I have nothing going on. I divorced because. Because what? He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. Right, if it wasn't for Sarah, why would he divorce me? Marcus, some words, once spoken, cannot be taken back, and some actions, once done, cannot be undone, I said calmly. You chose to divorce then, and now you must face the consequences. And I have the right to choose my own happiness. With that, I took Ethan's hand and left. Marcus stood rooted to the spot, like a statue. At the movie theater, we chose a light-hearted comedy. But my mind wasn't on the film. What are you thinking about? Ethan squeezed my hand. Nothing. Is it because of what just happened? I nodded. I feel a bit tired. Then let's go back. Ethan immediately stood up. No, let's finish it, I smiled. I'm just reflecting on why some people never seem to appreciate what they have in the present. Perhaps it's only after losing something that you realize its worth, Ethan said. But I won't let myself make that mistake. He looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness. Grace, I will cherish every day we have together. My heart was touched. This was the difference between Ethan and Marcus. Marcus only knew regret after losing something, while Ethan understood how to cherish the present. After the movie, we went to the corner. Grace, Ethan suddenly said, I want to take you to meet my parents. I was a little surprised. So soon? We've been together for 3 months now, he smiled. And I want them to know how much I love you. Love? I looked at him. Yes, love, Ethan said earnestly. I love you, Grace. This was the first time he had said he loved me. My heart pounded, but at the same time, I felt a little uneasy. You don't have to answer me now, Ethan said gently. I just wanted you to know how I feel. Back home, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at the sunflower necklace around my neck. For 3 months, I had worn it every day, it had become a habit. Ethan said he loved me. How should I respond? I certainly had feelings for him. But was this feeling love? I wasn't sure. Perhaps it was because the situation with Marcus hadn't fully passed, or maybe it was because I was afraid of getting hurt again. But regardless, I wanted to try to love. Life was still long, and I couldn't give up my right to pursue happiness just because of one failure. And, perhaps, was my happiness. The next day, I called Ethan proactively. Ethan, about meeting your parents. Yes? I agree. Ethan's surprised voice came from the other end of the line. Really? Really, I chuckled. But I'm nervous. What if your parents don't like me? They will, Ethan said with a laugh. They'll definitely like you, just like I do. After hanging up, I suddenly felt great. Perhaps I really should start fresh. Marcus was my past, but Ethan was my present and future. I needed to learn to let go of the past and embrace the future. Just like a sunflower, always turning towards the sun,